Week 3 of my 52-week self-portrait challenge brought something a little bit different. I used a reference photo in which I was looking very, very angry. Hi, I'm Dominique, an artist living in Ottawa, Canada. Welcome back to week 3 of my 2026 self-portrait challenge, in which I create one self-portrait every week for a total of 52 portraits for the entire year. Today, I'm working from a reference photo in which 4-year-old me looks very, very angry. Let me show you how this portrait came together. I started with a loose pencil sketch and then decided to use a tool to help me measure out the placement of features, which is a good thing because, as you can see, it ended up making me move the original lines, and there's no shame in using tools to help with proportions. I'm sure with more practice, I eventually won't need tools as often. I know the footage jumped ahead a little bit, but if for some reason it was really blurry, so I ended up cutting it out, but you didn't miss much. For the first wash, I kept everything very light. I know the skin looks a little intense at first, but this week I made a conscious effort to slow down and really watch the color shift as it dried. You'll see, it lightens up quite a bit, and watercolor has this beautiful way of surprising you if you give it space. The ugly phase is always so very scary. For this painting, I used Da Vinci Petit Gris Pur brushes in a size 2 and a size 3/0. I love how much water they can hold, which does take a little while to get used to, and I love how fine a point they come to, which allows for super fine marks. So my mom did this thing where she'd sort of distract us by asking us to make the angriest face we could when we get angry. And she'd encourage us to look angrier and angrier, which would inevitably result in us laughing. Yeah, maybe it would have been better for us psychologically if we were allowed to feel anger and learn how to express it better instead of distracting us and turning the anger into laughter. But I remember these moments fondly. I had my own trick with my daughter when she was little and didn't want to get ready to leave for daycare or school in the morning. Instead of fighting with her, I challenged her to a contest on who could get dressed first. This would inevitably change her mood. She was a competitive kid, and the deal was if I won, she would owe me a kiss, and if she won, I would owe her a kiss. No matter the outcome, there would be laughter, we would both be ready on time, and we would get a kiss. Sometimes I take the tape off before I add the finishing touches. The tape can distract me from how the final piece will look. If I know the brush strokes that are left will be made in the center of the piece, I remove the tape so I can have a better idea of how to finish the remaining details. As you can see, I still struggle with shadows. Thanks for joining me for week 3 of my 2026 self-portrait challenge. Creating this portrait reminded me how much there is to learn when I slow down and let watercolor settle and shift before adding any layers. Taking my time made the process feel more enjoyable and intentional. If you're following along with your own creative challenge this year, or this portrait challenge too, I hope this encourages you to take your time and really observe what's happening on the page. I'll see you next week for portrait number 4.